Good morning, everybody. This is Grant from State of the Spark. Super pumped for today's show. We're going to be covering a lot today, but actually one major concept. It's basically the one key to unshrink your passions. And there's 5 principles in making that happen that you can actually return to an inspired pursuit. We're going to talk about that a little bit, about an invite I got last week that completely inspired this conversation that was just phenomenal. And it helped me reflect on some things when I was a kid that were easy to do when I was a kid, not so easy to do as an adult. Specifically, how do you live an inspired life? We're going to cover that. In other news, we're going to be talking about record-breaking, mind-melting ice melt. We're going to talk about that real quick because it is mind-blowing. And then we're going to be talking about Martian photography and the opportunity that interplanetary photography is offering us in the fine arts. But before any of that, you know what time it is. We're going to be covering a morning cup of gratitude. What are you grateful for? Let me know in the comments below the things that absolutely have you inspired, that have you pumped, that have you thinking about big dreams and big things today. Tell me what you're grateful for in the comments below. And you know, I'm going to start. Oh, here we go. F what you're told starts out right away and says, you never addressed Jade Protocol. I'm going to, sir. We're going through a lot. A lot of the people in the Discord are asking me for a lot of stuff, but I'm going to address Jade Protocol fully and how I got skunked, but not this morning. Trey Smith jumps on and says, this show, my guy. Hey, Trey, I want to talk to you. I'm about to hit 75 hard. I think I want a custom nutrition and fitness plan. Just letting this guy know. But this guy's hard to reach. He's hard to get a hold of. He is a mover and a shaker, and nailing him down for consultation is tough. Let's talk about what we're grateful for this morning. I'm massively grateful for people. This sounds absolutely ridiculous, but we do so much with people. This gentleman who just piped in a second ago, F what you're told says, thanks for the excitement. Love you, guy. I was just going to comment on his question just a moment ago. You never addressed Jade Protocol. I'm not going to go on it this morning, but part of what I'm grateful for this morning is people. And the inverse of this is things like Jade Protocol, who, if you actually pay attention to the leaders, it actually seems like they're manipulating and beating people up. For the record, I'm still in Jade Protocol because I've lost so much money. There's nothing to do but wait for it to grow. But these are people have treated people in the opposite that you should be treating people. That's respectful. That's informative. That's transparent. That's lifting people up. So this morning, and this goes into the theme for the rest of the show this morning, I'm grateful for freaking people because people make things happen. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to give you the key. If you've got to bop off and get to work, the title, the one key to unshrink your passion, that is people. And you don't have to be hyped like me. You could be low-key introverted like my wife and getting people going like that. I'm going to tell you about an invite I got last week that reminded me that people make or break everything. And then the 5 ways to returning to inspired pursuits, just for insight after we get through other news, 5 ways to return to inspired pursuits. It's 5 ways to nurture your mastermind, because nothing worthy of pursuing can be pursued without a worthy team. Hear that? Nothing worth pursuing can be pursued without a worthy team. No, F, what you're told, I know you weren't being sarcastic, or at least I assumed you weren't, because I assume the best out of people. I appreciate the excitement, man. No problem at all, dude. I didn't think you were being sarcastic at all, man. So let's talk about, guys, other news. And if we're chatting, F what you're told, Trey Smith, I want to hear what you're grateful for. And I think that's what Trey was saying. Boom. Trey was saying, boom, this show is what he's grateful for. Maybe that's what he's talking about. And let's go. Okay, I'll reach out to you this week, man. We'll get that going. Let's talk about other news. 2 quick pieces of other news, my friends. Number 1, in the art world. And listen, I know that you guys are here for crypto, but we're here for financial freedom. We're here for mental freedom. We're here to level up as freaking humans. And if we can't talk about art, I mean real art. I mean, I guess NFTs are real art too, but like we're talking about high art and the ability to understand art and sciences and what's going on. Are we actually becoming Renaissance people of our day? Nah, we're just kind of in the echo chamber that's everybody else. So we're going to talk about art real quick. And one piece of art from the high-rise Martian photography. Yes, the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. A lot of people know about the rovers. on Mars. Not a lot of people know that we have orbiters that are taking meteorological data and photos all the time. And one of the orbiters going around Mars is what's known as HiRISE. This is the High Resolution Imaging Experiment, and it's a high resolution camera that circles Mars, and it can take detailed photos up to the size of a dinner table. It can even take photos of our rovers. Here's Trey. Boom. Yeah, man, I love how enthusiastic you are and how much great knowledge that you give on this show. Grateful for you, sir, and I'm grateful for you watching. Welcome to the show this morning. I'm being a little loud. Maybe I should tone it down a little bit. Forget that, man. So the HiRISE orbiter took a massively important photo recently on Mars that has two purposes. Number one, the first purpose of this photo is pragmatic. This HiRISE reconnaissance orbiter going around Mars took a photo of a crater that actually precisely marks zero longitude. Now, for those who don't know, zero longitude on a planet is the place where it separates the eastern from the western hemispheres, and it has an exact opposite on the other side of the planet. But zero longitude is that beginning point. This crater absolutely captures this location precisely on Mars, which helps from the science and sciencey things, right? But the other thing that this photo did was phenomenal. I'm going to drop a link here for you to see. Good morning, Ryan, Chris. Thanks for the likes, sir. I see you there, bud. If you look in the comments, I just dropped a link to you. The thumbnail is of a beautiful piece of Martian photography. This is one of the best photos I have seen. Its composition is gorgeous. It gives us gorgeous insight into the awe and in size of the planet Mars and this crater. So it's a nearly perfect crater. Sometimes craters aren't preserved this well, but if you look at the thumbnails, you can see a thumbnail of this crater. Check out the image. So it has two major benefits. Number one, it's gorgeous as a piece of fine art. I would hang this on my wall. It's just interesting because it's a reminder of the size of our universe, how small we are, and that means how profound it is, that how small we are, how empty the vast space seems, and how important it is that you return to passion. We'll get to that in a second. And then the other thing, obviously, is practical. It separates the eastern and western hemispheres. Listen, this is my only caveat on this that I care that you know about, and that's this. Space travel will impact the fine arts. My hope is that how it affects the fine arts is it returns humans to a place of awe. How big this universe is, whether it was created, right, or whether it evolved, both should evoke a huge sense of awe and respect that you are a living, breathing person. People often like to say, tongue-in-cheek, a mud planet populated by highly intelligent, neurotic apes, right? That might be true, but we have the blessing of this neocortex, and the more we can look out to space and see how big it is, the more we will be filled with awe and will take our purpose here seriously, which I hope helps you take your goals more seriously. Let's talk about better than Fiji water. Is it too soon to be talking about ice melt water? It might be too soon. Let's talk about some record-breaking, mind-melting, ice-melting records. So you might recall you might recall a few years ago. Woo, wrong pipe. You might recall that a few years ago, we had a huge iceberg break off the Antarctic ice shelf. This was known as A68A. I had to look that up. And it broke off what was known as the Larsen C ice shelf. A lot of you might remember this. Some of you might not. And it broke off the southern Arctic, right? The Antarctic ice shelf. And at the time, it was the biggest iceberg ever recorded on Earth. Ever recorded. Now, we can speculate how big some icebergs have been in past times, but that's kind of difficult. So one could say in modern times, the largest iceberg, it was huge, 2,208 square miles, which for those who might recall, you might recall this bit of news, it was bigger than all of Delaware, an entire state of the Union, this piece of just ice, bigger than Delaware. And this happened back in December 2020. Now, it's been floating around the Southern Ocean since, and it was approaching South Georgia Island in basically the South Atlantic, I believe, if not the South Pacific. I'm not sure which. And it was threatening to actually careen into basically the seabed, and that would have massive impacts. Like, imagine a giant ship the size of Delaware crash into an island, and the island was small. This island was not the size of Delaware. and it risked completely devastating the actual underwater seabed ecosystem and perhaps the entire ecosystem of South Georgia Island. Now, in that time, this iceberg, as it approached the island, set a record for being about 771 feet thick of ice. And just in the short time it was around South Georgia Island, it shrunk in ice melt down to about 200, from 770 to 220 feet thick. It lost over nearly 3/4 of its ice as fresh water. Now, they're still inspecting to see how negative the fresh water has affected that saltwater environment. They're researching it. But this amounted to about 167 billion tons of fresh water released into a saltwater environment, which is enough to fill, they threw this fun fact out there, about 61 million Olympic swimming pools. It's still hard to fathom. I don't care. 167 billion, 61 million Olympic swimming pools. It's hard to fathom, but it's massive. Now, I mentioned the seabed because the ice melt was enough to fracture the iceberg, and it began drifting in different directions and fortunately did not wreck this island. Now, to learn more about this, and this is huge, and again, we could talk about global warming. I don't know about that, but we can certainly say climate change. Boom, here, let me paste this in here. There you go. Climate change is for real. It's happening. We can't deny it. The cause is political. I don't care about the cause, but I do care that everyone acknowledges that climate change is happening. F What You're Told says, boom. Oh, that's not F What You're Told. Here, let's hide that one. And F What You're Told from YouTube says, have you ever researched the Georgia Guidestones? It leads down a wormhole of epic proportions. Don't need to reply in the video. Sorry about that. I did reply. Yes, we can talk about Georgia Guidestones eventually because that's huge. And yes, Yagya, I did shave. My brother actually made me handcrafted this awesome shave kit, and I decided to use it last night. I look like a baby face, but we're going to grow it back out over the next 75 days because, sidebar, I'm doing 75 hard. Listen, if the crypto market's going to tank, if everyone's going to be acting crazy, I'm just going to manage my businesses, keep dollar cost averaging, and work on fitness. So I decided to shave and trim everything, and then we're going to kind of grow it all out over the next 75 days, hit 75 hard. Separate video playlist for that entirely. Don't worry, it won't interrupt our experiments with crypto. So why do I mention, going back to the news real quick that I just listed, why do I mention any of these pieces of news? Number one, as it comes to space art, I think you all need to be dreaming bigger. We need to be dreaming bigger than just making our bags with Wall Street bets or cryptocurrency. We need to be dreaming bigger than even our mental, financial, and time freedom, which is what this show is largely about. We need to dream bigger than that. Why do we want financial freedom? I hope your dreams are big enough to solve big, big problems. And this leads us to the second piece of news we already covered, and that is things like climate change. Again, not going to get into the politics of it, but it's undeniable that there is a great degree of problems in the world. And these problems are big enough that they require you and me to dream bigger, which leads us to our message today. One major way to unshrink your passions, which means we're going to talk about how your passions shrink, and then 5 ways to return to an inspired piece of living. Let's talk about it. When I was young, I could get people to do just about anything. You see, in high school, I was the guy I grew up on the beach here. I was the guy that could, as a freshman, as a person in 9th grade in high school, we put together this humongous all-school beach party with a senior. Easy for me to do. Another thing we did is our school, the first year our school's open, we didn't have an entire completed schedule. So I convinced an entire school to go play Frisbee in the courtyard. We got all the kids out of class. We basically protested our classes and literally just played Frisbee in the courtyard. We also did something else that was easy for me to get people to do was for our prom. We celebrated prom, but we left right away and decided, what are we going to do for fun? We were in a very small town. We decided, hey, let's go to the surf shop. And I could get people to go to the surf shop. I could get people to stay out late. I could get people to start this one project. I got us to actually start, or we bought and acquired a fruit gift packing business like right after high school with a bunch of our friends. How are we able to get people to do so much? How are we able to influence people to pursue things bigger than themselves? You see, when I was younger, it was much easier to cast vision. I don't know if you had this experience. Trevor King jumps in and says, what up, Grant? Good morning, Trevor. I hope you're doing great this morning, man. We're just doing a Monday morning show real quick, not really covering crypto or anything like that, but just checking in. So when I was young, it seemed way easier to inspire and recruit people to get sucked into a vision. I don't know if you've had this experience, but as a person who seeks to influence others, seeks to lead, seeks to launch projects, seeks to launch my entrepreneurial ventures, seeks to find partners for our real estate and find partners for our crypto investments, I found that it was much easier to get people sucked into vision when I was younger. And I think the older I get, the more difficult it is. Now, what I'm seeing is a lot of people have sidelined their ambitions. Now, you and I know this. This is kind of old hat. We all know that most people have shrunk their vision. Now, their hopes, their goals, their big dreams, they've kind of just shrunk what they believe they are capable of doing. Now, when people are younger, when they're younger in their thinking, they tend to dream bigger. They're less experienced. They don't know what's going on in the world, so they just set their sights high. I'm going to change the world. I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to build my own business, or whatever it is we tell ourselves. We tend to do this when we're young, immature, and inexperienced. And what happens is as we gain experience, the one thing we do is we realize how much work dreams take. There's a lot of work to get a business up and running. It took 7 years for us to, it took probably 5 or 6 years to hit our first six figures with our first business. And then it kind of snowballed and accelerated from there. But it takes a lot on the beginning, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of energy. And if anyone has ever, as a young person, said, I'm going to try X, Y, and Z, and they go after it, and whether they achieve it or don't achieve it, they do learn it takes a lot of sacrifice. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of energy. Sidebar, the ancient Greek word for work was energon. The root that what we have is energy. It took a lot of energy and it took a lot of sacrifice. And whether you won or lost at that attempt, you learned that it takes a lot. And then when you look at people who have matured and grown up and you thought, I've got a worthy goal, I've got a worthy ambition, I want to get them looped in. And you start to try to loop them in. They're really resistant. They're throwing up walls and excuses and reasons to not get involved. And you have to get more nuanced and more creative in what you sell for them. And basically, you have to create very clear incentives. Well, this is what's in it for you. This is what's in it for me. And that can happen. And that can lead to decent partnerships. And that, as a mature person, has to kind of occur so that people do know what they're getting involved with. But what I have found is that doesn't lend itself to an inspired pursuit. It doesn't lend itself to passion. And what we're all actually seeking is a passionate living. For those who watch the show or involved in the Patreon or involved in the Discord because you want to talk about financial freedom and you want to talk about mental freedom and location freedom, back of that is a picture in your mind of what life looks like. And when you picture what life looks like, even if it is the beach dream, we lived in the Dominican Republic, live in the beach dream. I was surfing every day. I was drinking Mai Tais and coffee, and it was the dream. And when I pictured this dream as a young kid, I pictured it being vibrant and passionate and exciting. And when I got that dream, it was boring. And that was really challenging. So today, when you're a young person, you got big visions, you can get people to do a lot of things. As you mature and you have a vision, it gets really difficult to get people sucked into the dreams. They got a lot going on. They have an unconscious awareness that it takes a lot of energy. They've shrunk their vision to what they alone can do. So when you ask someone, what's your goal? It's normally what I can do alone. What's your goal? Well, I want to lose weight in the gym. That's something you could do alone. Hey, what's your goal? Well, I'd like to build a side hustle. Something you could do alone. Side hustle implies you could do it alone without anyone's help. And there's a lot of big stories and myths on TikTok and in YouTube of all the stuff you can do alone that you don't have to rely on other people. And you know what? That's good. Pursue those things. But this feeds the cycle that you don't need other people. Last week, I was invited to a mastermind call, and I loved this. I love this that the person put themselves out there and said, would you be willing to attend this mastermind phone call? I'm trying to assemble a group of people. And then this person put themselves out there and put like a multiple slide presentation, a pitch, if you will. And then throughout the presentation, they said, would you be willing to sacrifice? What would be some of the challenges you'd have with this? And by the end of the call, everyone was pumped. And I'm excited about this particular vision. Now, whether or not this particular vision goes and moves forward and progresses doesn't matter. It reminded me of a principle that I want to remind you today on why I'm going to share the one key to unshrink your passion and 5 ways to return to an inspired pursuit of your goals. And the principle is this, and you could hang up this call if you got to get about your day with this one point, and it's this: inspiring goals. Goals that get you out of bed, goals that pull you out of depression, goals that make you work harder, goals that make you save more money, goals that make you get more disciplined. Inspiring goals can only be pursued by an inspired team. And that's the one key to unshrink your passion. You need to be thinking about your passion in the context of more people. You need to be thinking about your passion in the context of getting others involved. As you turn into an adult, your goals that have nothing to do with anyone else but yourself tend to be shrunk. But if you want to return to an inspired state, I encourage you to return to in thinking about your goals in the context of a crew, of your boys, of your girls. My wife right now is off on the Florida Trail up in Swanee with a group of girls that she has hiked the Arizona Trail with. She's hiked in North Carolina with. She's building deeper relationships, and they're trying to build a movement. A movement implies other people. The one key to unshrink your passion is to think about your passion in the context of an inspired team. Now, I mentioned this phone call I was on, and I've been on lots of phone calls. So as you can tell, a person like me, I get a lot of invites, right? Hey, join our crypto DAO and hype us. And I refuse to do any hype like that for a Discord or anything like that. I'll experiment with a lot, but I refuse to kind of get sold like that. But I get invited to be part of city leadership. I get invited to be part of community organization just because I'm an outgoing loudmouth, right? I'm a fun guy to be around. And so I get invited into lots of stuff. We've tried to do a sustainable community. We've tried to do a product launch course and did that back in 2015, 2016. We've done some great workshops and other workshops that have failed. We've done website resales. How do you build like a niche website? Because we have a website company. How do you build a website that's just niche and then resell it like property? We've done a lot of things, and we've tried to get a lot of people involved. We've launched churches. We've closed churches. We've launched masterminds. We've closed masterminds. And we will continue to do this. And I'm going to share why in these next few principles, and I'll drop these on you and you can get about your day. But the principle is to remember this: truly worthy goals, inspiring goals, can only be pursued by an inspired team. And this collaboration phone call I was invited to last week reminded me to step up to the plate again. Here are the 5 ways to return to an inspired pursuit. And basically, these are around assembling your mastermind. If you hear nothing else and you got to jump off about your day, you all have to know that I love the book, Think and Grow Rich. This book has empowered me since I was 20, and I'm 42 now. I have followed the principles in this book. I read it every single year along with 7 Habits of Highly Effective People at the beginning of the year. I reread the entire book. I have it nearly memorized. And the section on mastermind is so empowering. It's the glue to every one of your disciplines, your goals, your organized planning, your desire, decision-making, your clarity. All of that comes together around people. So the 5 ways to return to, and Trey jumps in, bro, boom. Love that book. Dude, I love this book, man. This book changes my life. Read it and reread it. If you've never read it before, do not get I have a newer version. Do not get this newer version. I keep it here because it's not falling apart. But the older version, the original book, I don't have the cover because it's a completely tattered version. You can see I have notes upon notes of this thing, right? It's completely tattered, but if you can find the one with this motif, it's got the more accurate manuscript. And Trey jumps in and says, boom, it's extremely powerful book. Meditate on this book. But here are the 5 principles. And these aren't 5 principles of mastermind. And these are not in Think and Grow Rich. These are my own principles on how to return to a passionate living by engaging your mastermind. Let's talk about it. Number 1, frequently meet with people who feed your dreamer. You have a dreamer in your soul. You have a dreamer in your heart that has been neglected. You have neglected the dreamer in your heart, and I have too. Or we get lazy. Pandemic brain, mommy brain, labor brain, work brain. We can tend to get sucked down, and the dreamer in our heart fades away. And we can only We can only reignite that if we get around other people who feed your dreamer. Now, there's two principles to this. Number one, you got to start meeting with your people and filtering them. Don't proactively break up with a friend, but slowly create distance with certain people that do not feed your dreamer, or worse, kill your dreamer. You bring up a dream and they naysay it. Spouses are a little different, right? That's a unique situation. We might talk about that on another call. But number one, meet with your people and begin filtering them. Throw out a dream and see how they respond. And then how can you actually nurture this? Maybe there's a good friend who's themselves, their dreamer has been killed. The dreamer in their heart's been killed. This is what you can do. Feed their dreamer. Ask them their dreams. Just meet for coffee. What's your dream? Ask them about it. So number one, frequently meet with people who feed your dream. Once, twice, 3 times a week, have lunch, coffee, breakfast with somebody, anybody who you want to possibly do big things with. Feed their dreamer. Ask them about their dreams, affirm their dreams, encourage their dreams. Ask them what's next to pursue them. Ask them what gets them inspired. Be that person in line at the post office who asks people, what's your dream? Just ask them. I challenge you to do that today. Number two, frequently attempt things together as a team. We have a friend right now who's trying to get us hooked into a pickleball team. And I myself am resisting it. I am committed to so many things, but this would actually be good for our fellowship. Frequently attempt things together as a team. Now, and have a finite goal. Marissa's been great for this because she says, we're going to hike this one trail and beginning to end, that's it. And those bite-sized chunks are huge. My dreams are almost too big. They don't have these bite-sized chunks with a beginning and end. But frequently attempt things together as a team. Always step up to the plate. Put a vision out there and say, hey, together we could do X, Y, and Z. And observe the rejection. Listen to the rejection. But if you've done the first step, and that is frequently meet with people who feed your dreamer, then you should be able to make a pitch. And they might be pitching you. It doesn't always have to be your dream. It could be someone else's dream. But the goal is to return to a passionate way of living. And I often have heard it said, I don't care if we were laying bricks as long as we're doing it together. That's true. Let's do these things passionately, because we could sit on the beach like I did in the Dominican Republic and it'd be absolutely boring. My new vision still has me sitting on the beach, making an impact in the world with people I love running with. I don't want to go to the beach anymore. I don't want to climb the mountains anymore if I'm not doing it with people I like. Third principle is this. Have grace for failed attempts. Listen, if you step up to the plate with this dreaming group of people and fail, have grace for it. Hey, man, good idea. I'm glad we tried this together. High five. I can't wait for the next project. Why is it that we have to poo-poo when something fails? It's almost like failure is the opposite of success, and it's not. Not trying is the opposite of success. Failure is the opposite of learning lessons. Those are the polar opposites. In early Japanese, they didn't have a word for failure. They had it was happy accidents, right? Happy accidents. Hey, man, we got to this point. We realized, boom, that one thing didn't work. And that leads to the fourth lesson, and that's this. Don't learn the wrong lesson. Don't learn the wrong lesson. You got to hear me on this. So often you guys try things here. Let me get these comments in here for you to see the comments. Boom. If you got to have grace for failed attempts, grace is the threshold to still collaborate and synergize with your dreaming friends and then learn the right lessons. This right here, don't learn the wrong lessons. Too often you guys encounter something that doesn't work out. You label it a failure, which is not the opposite of success. Not trying is the opposite of success. But you have something that didn't work out. And instead of learning, okay, this is what we learned. We learned that we got to market like this. We got to build our platform like that. We've got to maybe have a better team like this. Instead, we learn the wrong lesson. Most of you have learned the wrong lesson. I shouldn't try. You learn the wrong lesson. I shouldn't partner with people. You learn the wrong lesson. I'm not going to be with temperaments like that. You learn the wrong lesson. Oh my God, when I try this stuff that I don't understand or don't know, I always fail. You learn the wrong lesson. If I try entrepreneurial things, I might go broke. You're learning the wrong lessons. And it's probably because you're not surrounded by the right people. It's probably because you don't have grace for failed attempts, principle number 3. And it's probably because you don't actually attempt things often. Where we go? Attempt things often. You're probably not attempting things that often. Beware, do not learn the wrong lessons in life. How you learn the right lessons is simply asking yourself one question. What did we learn? And what will we do different next time? What will we learn? Let's go. And what are we going to do different next time? And if you're surrounded by people, this is another filter. If you have an attempt and that attempt doesn't work out, and these people start throwing stones at you or attacking you or just talking negatively about making attempts in life, they're probably not your dreamer people. Yes, they can be your friends. Yes, you can still hang out with them, but you shouldn't be investing serious time with the dreamers in your life. And then this is the final lesson. You go. Boom. Learn for the next moment to look for the next moment to do things together. Proactively be searching the horizon for the next attempt. Hey, we're going to try this together. We're going to try this together. I love the fact I have Natalia over here with Jamie Clemens, Natalia Clemens. Natalia was over here the other day picking up a tent. She's on the trail right now with Marissa and her girls. And she popped over here and she said to us around a campfire recently, hey, where is this headed? What are we doing? And I said, well, I mean, this is where it's headed: fellowship, community, supporting one another. We were having important conversations. And she said, no, I think there's something more. And I'm saying there is. There is something more. I want more people like that in our life who love the moments that we're here just to hang and just to support one another as a community. That's great. But I also want to make sure that the people closest to me are the people that are dreaming big, that are recruiting me, that when I say, man, on this particular project, I can't, but please keep me in mind for the next project, I want to be around dreamers and doers. I want to be around people who are taking our society into the next level. Of course, I want to be around intellectual people that are analyzing what's been going on, that are interpreting, that are philosophizing about things that are happening. I want to be around the artists who are creating art and trying to tell a story of what's coming next, or trying to interpret emotionally what's been happening. But more than any of those, I want to be surrounded by dreamers. And why are we talking about dreamers? We're talking about dreamers because most of you, to summarize, most of you have let your dreams shrink because your dreams have been limited to the boundaries of what you can do. And real dreams, inspiring dreams, can only happen with an inspired team. There was nothing good and worthy of pursuing that didn't require the help and support and skills and insights of people with other experience who also had the right attitude, who were willing to bring the X factor of passion, positivity, focus, and knew when to call the project win, success, or fail, or change direction, transparency and clarity and trust. I'm speaking these things over you and your next team. So the 5 things: number 1, frequently meet with people who feed your dreamer. Number 2, frequently attempt things together as a team. Number 3, have grace for failed attempts. Number 4, don't learn the wrong lessons. Learn the right lessons that empower the next attempt. And that leads us to number 5, look for the very next moment to do things together. And why about any of this? Why do we have the Discord? Please join the Discord. Why do we have the Patreon? You want our buy alerts? You want to see how we're making financial freedom beyond crypto? Check that out. Why do we do any of that? To pursue time freedom, location freedom, mental freedom, financial freedom. Yes. But why do we do any of that? And this is where I remind you, no matter what freedom you pursue today, no matter what lesson you apply today, I want you to remember why we do any of it. Remember the mission: igniting lives of explosive significance, starting with your own. Have a great day.